I never imagined 10 minutes could feel so perilous. The moment I stepped into her kitchen, the atmosphere thickened, laden with the sweetness of apples and something unspoken that pressed between us. She moved with deliberate grace, every step and glance a quiet invitation I couldn't ignore. Her white shirt clung just enough to suggest, the collar slipping in a way that caught my attention no matter how I tried to resist. She saw, of course, she always did. "Sit," she murmured, sliding a cup in front of me. As she leaned forward, her arm brushed mine. It was almost nothing. Yet, it was everything. My hand stalled on the table, lingering inches from hers as heat surged through me. The storm outside deepened, thunder rolling like an omen. She tilted her head, lips curving. "So, do you like me?" she asked, her tone playful, though her gaze struck sharp. I swallowed hard, throat desert dry. I just came to check the kettle," I muttered, the excuse hollow even in my own ears. The lights flickered, then died. She struck a match and lit a candle, its flame gilding her face in soft gold. Shadows clung to her collarbone, tracing the line of her neck. She slid the candle closer, and in that sliver of light, our hands lingered dangerously close. Her breath filled the silence, too near, too long. She began to speak, her voice quiet, intimate. Loneliness. Nights that pressed too heavy. Words meant for me alone. I leaned in without realizing, drawn to the warmth of her voice, to the way her lips shaped each confession. Thunder cracked, rattling the windows. She startled, her hand shooting across the table to grip my wrist. She didn't release me. My pulse thrashed beneath her fingers. We sat frozen, eyes locked, the silence trembling between us. At last, she let go, her fingertips grazing mine as they withdrew. She laughed softly, though it carried no joy, only a question left unspoken. "You should probably leave," she whispered, leaning back but not far enough. I half rose, heart racing. Then she leaned close again, her lips brushing the edge of my ear. "Or stay," she breathed. "Stay a little longer." The candle wavered, the storm howled, and I knew the night was only beginning. The storm dragged on, drumming against the windows like a restless heart. I should have left long ago, yet her eyes, her voice, held me rooted to that chair. The candle burned low, its glow fragile in the draft. She poured more coffee, her hands steady though her gaze betrayed her. "You're quieter than usual," she teased, though her tone carried concern. "I'm just listening," I murmured. The truth was harsher. I was at war with myself. Every glance felt forbidden. Every silence unbearable. She reclined, crossing one leg over the other. The motion was simple, harmless even, but the curve of her knee caught the flicker of light, and I looked away. She noticed, naturally. Her smile curved with quiet knowledge, though she said nothing. Lightning split the sky, filling the room with sudden brilliance. In that instant, I caught her staring, her chair now impossibly closer. "You make it too easy," she whispered. My pulse skipped. "What do you mean?" Her gaze didn't waver. "You keep pretending you don't want to look at me." I opened my mouth, but no words formed. She reached out, her fingers brushing the back of my hand, barely touching, then retreating. The smallest contact, yet it set fire racing beneath my skin. Thunder rolled again. The lights flickered to life, then vanished once more. In the sudden dark, her laughter echoed soft and wicked. "Looks like we're trapped." Her silhouette leaned closer, her breath warming my cheek. I froze, every muscle taut, waiting. Then, just as quickly, she withdrew, her smile both teasing and tender. "You look terrified," she whispered. "Maybe I am," I admitted. Her hand lingered briefly on my shoulder before sliding away. "Don't be," she said quietly. "It's only a storm." But the tempest outside was nothing compared to the one inside us. By midnight, the rain had softened, though the silence between us pressed heavier. The candle's flame trembled in the draught, shadows swaying along the walls. She sat closer than before, as though the hours had eroded the careful space we had tried to keep. Her hands cupped the mug, her gaze lost in the swirling dark of coffee. "Do you ever wonder," she asked without lifting her eyes, "what people would say if they saw us now?" The question struck deeper than I expected. My throat tightened. "Probably more than they should," I managed. Finally she looked up, her eyes sharp, catching light like blue fire. Exactly, she murmured, a faint smile daring me to deny her. The storm rumbled faintly, one last warning. She rose, crossing to the window, pushing aside the curtain. Her silhouette glowed in the faint spill of streetlight, her hair tumbling in loose waves that caught the glow. From where I sat, the sight was disarming. Ordinary, yet magnetic in a way that rooted me. I stood, almost without realizing, finding myself a step behind her. The rain against the glass filled the silence. She tilted her head, aware of me. "You've gone quiet again," she whispered. I swallowed, words failing me. My hand hovered in the air, aching to close the distance, to touch her shoulder. Trembling hesitation stopped me. She sensed it anyway. And instead of moving away, she leaned back just enough that her hair brushed my arm. In that moment, the world seemed to collapse into the space between us. Her perfume drifted faintly from her hair, mingling with the steady rhythm of her breath. My chest ached beneath the weight of everything I hadn't said. Then she turned abruptly, and for one suspended heartbeat our faces hovered inches apart. The candlelight caught in her eyes, and something inside me surged forward. Neither of us moved. The moment hung, fragile as a held breath. One choice, one step, and nothing would remain the same. Her lips parted, uncertain if to form a word or something more. My pulse pounded. I leaned closer. And then a sharp knock echoed from the hallway. We froze. The sound shattered the delicate spell that had wrapped itself around us. She stepped back quickly, her hand pressed to her chest, her face unreadable. "Probably a neighbor," she whispered, though her voice shook. But she didn't move to answer. Neither did I. The knock faded into silence, leaving only the air between us, burning hotter than before. Whoever it was had already vanished into the night, but the echo of what almost happened remained. She stood still by the window, eyes lowered, palm pressed tight against her chest. I wanted to speak, to shatter the weight between us, but no words felt enough. Finally, she gave a soft laugh, fragile, brittle. "You see? Even the walls disapprove." I shook my head. "It's not the walls I'm worried about." Her eyes lifted, a flicker of mischief sparking faintly back into them. "So you are worried?" The candle sputtered, threatening to die. She reached to steady it, her fingers brushing near mine. For a second, our hands hovered above the flame, heat pulsing between us. I could feel the warmth of her skin without touching, and it made my chest hammer harder than any storm outside. She drew a long breath. "It's late," she murmured. "I know." "Then why are you still here?" Her voice wasn't accusing, it was an invitation, daring me to speak truth. I hesitated, then gave the only answer I had. "Because you asked me to stay." The words fell heavy, thicker than silence. She stepped closer until I could see the faint laugh lines by her eyes, the kind only years and joy could carve. She lifted her hand, faltered, then rested it lightly on my arm. Such a simple gesture, yet it unraveled me. I didn't pull away. Instead, I covered her hand with mine. Her skin was warm, softer than I had ever imagined. We stood in her kitchen, bound together by a touch neither of us had dared until now. Her gaze lifted to mine, her lips parting as if to speak, but no words came. The distance between us was gone now, just a breath, a choice. My heartbeat thundered, urging me forward. But she closed her eyes, leaning her forehead gently against my shoulder instead. Not a kiss, not even close, yet somehow more intimate than anything I had known. Carefully, I wrapped an arm around her, afraid to break the fragile closeness. We stood in the dim glow, her breath steady against me, my heart racing. The storm outside had passed, but inside us it raged stronger. After what felt like forever, she whispered, "If you stay, everything changes." I tightened my hold, just enough for her to know I'd heard. Maybe it already has. The candle finally gave out, drowning us in darkness. But in that dark, her hands sought mine and held. Neither of us reached to relight the flame. Shadows folded around us, and though the room was silent, my chest thundered louder than any storm. At last, she whispered, "You should go before morning comes." But her fingers clung tighter, betraying her words. I leaned closer, trying to read her face in the dim. "Do you want me to?" Her breath caught. For a long moment she said nothing, eyes glistening with something unguarded, raw. Then softly, no. The word hung between us, fragile as glass. I clasped her hand firmly now. She inhaled shakily, her shoulders trembling. When her gaze met mine, there was no mischief left, only surrender. I've been alone so long, she murmured. And when you look at me like that, I forget the years. Tightness filled my throat, weighed down by everything I couldn't say. Instead, I reached up, brushing a stray strand of hair from her cheek. My fingers lingered, tracing the warmth of her skin. She didn't pull back. She leaned into my hand, lips parting slightly. The air trembled, alive with what almost was. I bent closer, close enough to feel her breath ghost across mine. She tilted her head, eyes fluttering closed. It would have been so easy, just one more step, but I stopped. Not from fear. From something deeper. Respect. Restraint. The certainty that if it happened, it had to be hers as much as mine. Her eyes opened, searching mine, surprised at my hesitation. Then she smiled, soft, aching, tender. You're different, she whispered. I pressed my forehead gently against hers, letting the closeness answer. I don't want just 10 minutes with you, I said quietly. I want it all. Her breath trembled as her fingers tightened around mine. For a long moment we stayed like that, foreheads touching, hearts racing, lips suspended on the edge of something unsaid. Outside, dawn crept pale and quiet through the window. She glanced at the light, then back at me, her smile bittersweet. 10 hours, she said softly. And now what? I had no answer. All I knew was leaving no longer seemed possible. Morning filled the room, and with her hands still clasped in mine, I realized my life had already changed.